In this episode, I'm going to help all the parents who have had this thought, my kid is addicted to their phone. Help! As a clinical child psychologist, the most talked about issue between parents and their kids is, in my therapy room, in my therapy office, is phones. Let me throw some statistics at you. 57% of Americans report being addicted to their phones. 50% of American teens report being addicted to their phones. So about 1 in 2 Americans are addicted to their phones. So go ahead and look to the person next to you. One of the two of you is addicted to their phone. And here's the thing that I see a lot in my therapy room. The disrespect from teens to their parents when their parents try to implement some kind of restrictions on their phone use is out of control. Oh my goodness. For instance, I had one client who actually threw their phone out of a moving car to prevent their parent from taking it when they had a consequence that deemed that the parent was going to take their phone. I don't think they thought that one through, but they're teens. Let's give them a little bit of grace. All right, here's my biggest recommendation if you have a child who's addicted to their phone. First of all, my biggest recommendation is don't buy it for them. I've already recorded a video that I've said multiple times, don't buy it for them. That's my biggest recommendation. But a lot of you who are listening to this are probably like, too late. I've already bought them a phone. So I have to help the vast majority of you. So what I want to talk about is this new framework that I've been kind of toying with, messing with. It's called bad, better, best. So the bad option for giving your child, your teen, or whoever a smartphone, because that's predominantly what we're talking about, a smartphone, is give your child a smartphone without any restrictions. That's the bad option. You're going to run into a lot of problems if you just hand your child a smartphone without any kind of guidelines on how to use it and anything on restrictions. Okay. The better option is teach your child how to use their phone in appropriate, responsible ways. Here's some examples. We were going to have phone-free times, such as meal times or other times. We're not going to have access to our phones. We're going to have time limits. So you are allowed to be on your phone for X amount of time per day. And that is it. Once you use that up, however you use it, it's up to you. But once you use it up, you're not going to get any more time. And the more that you whine, the chances are I'm going to take your phone away the next day. Logical consequences, folks. The next thing is phones charge in the kitchen. Don't allow your teen or your child to have their phone in their room. You're less likely to be able to guide them and show them if they have easy access to it. So at night, they give you their phones and charge them all in the kitchen or the living room, something like that. You're like, I'll just put it in my room. Phones shouldn't be in your room either because they distract you. Because remember, 57% of Americans are addicted to their phones. So you shouldn't have your phone in your room either. It also really impacts your marriage if you have your phone in your bedroom. I mean, I do. So I'm like, I'm throwing rocks. But ideally, charge all phones outside of bedrooms. All right. Another big tip, another guideline that I encourage parents to do is this phrase: do what you need to do before you do what you want to do. So their chores have to be done, their homework has to be done, and everything else that they need to do or expected to do is done before they have access to their phones. This is a huge one. It's great self-discipline for raising adults. I give this feedback to lots and lots of clients. Do what you need to do before you do what you want to do. Now, here's the other thing that is another guideline or restriction. If your child uses the phone inappropriately, what you deem inappropriate, it's removed temporarily, think 24 hours, and then they must endure, and I'm using that word I chose it, I plucked it, endure some kind of knowledge. Like knowledge about using their phones appropriately. So they have to withstand a lecture or endure a lecture. They have to take a virtual class, or maybe they have to go through this program that I love called Conversation by my good friend Kathy. Conversation. So maybe that's the consequence if they use it inappropriately. So this is the better option. Teach your child to your teen to use your phone appropriately and in a disciplined way. Now, the best option, the absolute best option out there is, if you have read or are familiar with the book The Anxious Generation by Dr. John Hyatt, his recommendation is, are you ready for this, parents? No smartphones before high school. That is the best option. So if you can hold off on giving your child a smartphone until high school, that is the best for their mental well-being. Now, that does not say that you can't give them a phone, like a dumb phone or a Gab phone. Google Gab phones, those are great as well. Those are all great options for this best level of parenting when it comes to preventing kids from getting addicted to their phones. So though that is the best. But again, if you can't do the best option, then do the better option. Just try to stay away from that bad option. Now, the last thing that I will tell you about trying to navigate your child's addiction to their phone is the power of connection. I believe that disconnection causes a lot of our addiction. If you want to watch a TEDx or TED Talk on this, there's a great one by Johann Hari that talks about how addiction is caused by disconnection. So what I encourage you all to do is put your damn phones down and connect with each other. Play games, go for walks, have conversations, do all those things. If people feel connected, they do not want to just be addicted to their phones. Connection is protection against addiction. So engage with your kids. More is caught than taught. Put your phones down. When we're talking about phone-free time, that means you parents too, because again, 57% of Americans are addicted to their phones. So connection is protection. Now, if you want to use your phones as a way to connect, there's lots of ways to do that as well. So like when we're standing in line at like amusement parks like Cedar Point, we will do like the heads up game, right? So where you have the phone and you're like, that kind of stuff. Or there's other ways to build connection. There's this new trend going around called Waffle Wednesday, where you record a video and you send it to a group of friends so that they can see your face and you don't have to like spend this, dictated amount of time. Then there's this other thing that my brand manager was telling me about from Simon Sinek, talking about the 8-minute call. And so like you got 8 minutes to an 8-minute phone call to connect with this person, and there's research that's showing that this is long enough to give. So connection is protection against addiction. All right, so I've thrown a lot at you. Most of us are addicted. 1 in 2 people in America are addicted to their phones. My biggest recommendation is don't buy it for them. We did the bad, better, best, and connection is protection. My encouragement is this. No matter how you've navigated phones in the past, know you can always pivot. Whenever I hear the word pivot, I always think of the Friends. Pivot, pivot, pivot. And make meaningful changes for your family today. And by doing that, by pivoting, you and me together are going to be throat punching this youth mental health crisis. Let's go.